This is Channel 9 Eyewitness News at 5. Coverage you can count on.
Several people shot at Florida State University.
I was completely in shock. I didn't think this could happen at Florida State.
Students running for safety as the campus goes on lockdown.
I'm nervous, I'm scared for my friends, I'm making sure I'm checking up on them.
A suspect now in custody as investigators piece together why this happened. A heinous crime. That is what law enforcement calling what happened on the sprawling campus of FSU in Tallahassee just before noon today. We continue our live team coverage with Channel 9 anchor Greg Wormuth, who is joining us right now in Tallahassee. We understand a vigil is underway. 2 people are dead, 6 people injured in this FSU student shooting. Greg?
Martha and Darlene, strong, united, we are family, we will care for all of you and get through this together. Those are the words from the FSU president. And like so many in our viewing area, I've made the drive to Tallahassee, countless times, football games, baseball games, presidential election recount, the death of Lawton Childs, and a funeral for, the proceedings for that governor. Most recently, 2 special sessions. And like so many of our viewers, I also had a son who attended, 2 nephews and a niece, but this ride today is new. 4 hours, a pit in my stomach, and again, this is beyond sad and unsettling. The group of students really, as I look at this, are a part of a generation that has had to unfortunately deal with this, and also law enforcement clearly was ready to deal with this as well, ending this horrific scene just as quickly as they could. I'll be there for the vigil and the investigation, the grieving and the healing. But Martha and Darlene, what a very, very sad day. And this is a ride that I didn't think I would ever take, a school shooting at one of the proud universities here in Florida. But unfortunately, it is the time we live in.
Awful situation. Again, we're hearing, we want to update you now straight from law enforcement with the live news conference. 2 dead. They are not students. 6 injured. We're going to fix that graphic. It is 6 injured. And then the shooter has non-life-threatening injuries. And Darlene, we know he is refusing to talk to law enforcement at this hour.
Yeah, Martha, that shooting took place right around noontime, just before it, in the middle of campus, outside of the Student Union building. Right now, we have live team coverage, starting with Channel 9's Ashlyn Webb, who has been speaking with students on campus. But we want to go first to Channel 9's Sabrina Majori, who is live at a reunification point right there on campus in Tallahassee. Sabrina, I know you got there just a short time ago. You've been able to speak with some students there who are undoubtedly still shaken up by all of this.
And Darlene, just to clarify, we are not at that reunification center. We're actually as close as law enforcement is letting us get to the student union. So this is as close as we can get to the student union, where around noon today, police say that active shooter opened fire. Now, we do know that active shooter has been identified as Phoenix Eigner. Law enforcement said it happened again around 11:50 with 2 people whom we now know are dead, 5 victims transported with gunshot wounds, and the shooter was also transported to the hospital. I did just get an update from the hospital telling us that all 6 people who were transported to them are in fair condition. Again, the 2 dead are not students. And what we have seen on campus and what we've heard from students is just how nervous they were as those shots broke out earlier today. We spoke to one student who told me he was in his classroom where an active shooter alert actually ended up blasting on the projector. That student told me he was sheltered in a classroom. He was using a scissor, he told me, to protect himself as this all played out before law enforcement was clearing the classrooms. Now, campus now is safe. They say there is no active threat. I want you to listen to what we just heard from law enforcement just a few minutes ago.
The 2 deceased are not students. The shooter is believed to be a current FSU student. I do not have additional information on the shooter's identity at this time. Students who need assistance can go to the Donald L. Tucker Center, where the university is providing counseling, health care, and other support services. Family members are also able to go to the Tucker Center for assistance. Students, faculty, and staff are asked to call their loved ones as soon as possible to update them on their status. The student union and the surrounding area is still considered an active crime scene, Individuals should avoid the area. Students should not return to the student union to retrieve personal property at this time.
And outside of the student union now, we've spoken to some students who are waiting to go ahead and try and get some of their property. But again, you did hear from law enforcement. They did identify the shooter as 20-year-old Phoenix Eichner. So we did just want to clarify that for you all. Again, you see all of the law enforcement on the scene here. Earlier today, we saw they are taking pictures in the distance there. Those crime scene techs are working the scene because it is an active investigation, a huge response with the FBI also on the scene. All of this still developing. A very tough day for students, as we hear from so many of them who are telling us they're getting those frantic calls from their parents, they're getting those frantic calls from their loved ones, and they're checking in on all their friends via social media, text messages, just to make sure that everyone is okay. Again, the victims so far have not been identified by law enforcement. For now, reporting live in Tallahassee, I'm Sabrina Majore, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
All right, before we get to Ashlyn, well, we want to clarify some things because we do know, Darlene, who the alleged shooter is. His name is Phoenix Eichner. We can tell you that he's 20 years old, and we do know that we're hearing he's the son of a Leon County deputy, and we're hearing from law enforcement that he used one of his mother's, used to be her service weapon, but she was able to purchase it from the department, and it's now her personal weapon. But what we're hearing is that he used her weapon to carry out this crime on campus. And we also know that this 20-year-old was apparently involved with the youth committee there for the law enforcement department, so they knew who he was. But again, you and I have been on social media trying to find him, but in cases like this, law enforcement disassembles their social media. So we know he was on Instagram, but it is blocked from all of us. It's been deleted, so we can't get to it. But we just want to clarify that police have identified who he is. He was met with gunfire by law enforcement. They're saying he wouldn't drop his weapon when they saw him on campus. And he has non-life-threatening injuries, and he is refusing right now to speak to law enforcement.
Yeah, and what's interesting to note here is the law enforcement aspect of this. This has totally rocked the law enforcement community in Leon County and Tallahassee because the suspected shooter connected to one of their own.
That's right, the son of a deputy. All right, we want to turn things over right now and continue our live team coverage for you with Channel 9's Ashlyn Webb, who is joining us in the studio. Ashlyn, you just spoke with someone on campus when all of this was unfolding, just such a frightening experience.
Yeah, I actually talked to a student who was in the building next to where shots were fired in the student union building. Tanner Stevens, he's actually the son of our director of community affairs for WFTV. He is luckily okay. He didn't hear the shots fired, but his classmates in the same class as him did. Listen in. We'll get that sound to you guys momentarily. He did share with us this video that he shot. It shows law enforcement going door to door, clearing out rooms. He says authorities with long guns and ARs escorted each of them single file with their hands up in the air out of the building. But he says everyone is on alert right now. Their nerves are everywhere. He described just some of the panic leaving the building.
Someone opens a door from the other side, and then it's like a domino effect. Someone freaks out, so everyone starts running and screaming. And I was like, bro, what is going on? And I started running too, and we hid behind the lockers. It was a crazy feeling that I never really. It was a very insane feeling, but everything was fine. It's just someone opened the door and freaked someone out because everyone was obviously high blood pressure.
And Tanner says students were then placed on buses where they were transported from main campus to the Donald L. Tucker Civic Center. That is where students are being asked to meet with their friends or parents if they're in town. Tanner told me that some students can't get back to their cars. The streets are shut down in some parts. Some are having to walk home or trying to get a ride from friends. But really, hearing from students, getting home is really the last thing on their minds. They are still checking with friends and classmates on their whereabouts. We're also hearing from parents as well who were checking frantically with their children or their students' friends as well. They're asking questions right now about why they didn't get an alert from FSU about an active shooter on campus so that they could check with their student and their students' friends. There's a lot of questions being asked about that right now, but we do know that students were alerted by text about an active shooter on campus. We're still looking into this, but I'm going to toss it back to you guys.
All right, Ashlyn, thank you so much. Governor Ron DeSantis releasing a statement today saying our prayers are with our FSU family and state law enforcement who was actively responding. We have reached out for more comment from the governor. We're working to find out if he's in Tallahassee or if he has plans to go to Florida State University. Here is what we are seeing on social media. We have the images right now of law enforcement running with their weapons drawn when the calls came in at 11:50 today of a shooter on campus. We can tell you the FBI has a bureau in Tallahassee, and they were sent and deployed to the campus as soon as this happened. Florida State says the campus has been secured for quite a while, but we can tell you the student union remains an active crime scene. There are hundreds and hundreds of witnesses because this is probably, you could say, the heart of the university, the heart of the campus where thousands come to eat and study and meet up. And it was certainly busy at 11:50 today when that gunman started shooting.
Martha, all classes, events, and sports have been canceled through tomorrow. Many students likely headed home for the Easter holiday. We know there are many of you out there here in Central Florida watching right now who have children there on the campus, or maybe you're an alum of the university. And a short time ago, we had a chance to catch up with Orlando Magic coach and player who have ties to the university.
Yeah, Jonathan Isaac actually used to play for FSU, and the head coach also an alumni. Let's listen to what they had to say.
I just want to send thoughts, prayers that things are handled speedily, and that we can just continue to pray for those that have been impacted by this, to understand that lives are more important and human beings are more important than a basketball game or a playoff series at any given time. And that's what we need to continually and remember in these moments right now.
You know, I'm sad about it. You know, I'm sad about anything that happens like this anywhere, but for it to happen at Florida State, you know, it takes a toll. It means a lot. And so, you know, I'll absolutely be praying for everybody involved, and hopefully everything is cleared up soon.
All right, our coverage of the FSU school shooting will continue. We have crews there in Tallahassee and reporters here in our newsroom gathering more information. You can count on Channel 9 to bring you updates as new developments come into our newsroom.